So recently we have updated some of our interfaces at PlaceOS, and I want to talk a little bit about the process on how we do that for internal products, but also for external projects. And what we typically do is a series of workshops, wireframing and prototyping. So I want to talk about each of those, and we'll use an example of our room booking experience. So room booking is something I've always sort of classified as necessary but quite boring compared to all the other things we do. And because of that, maybe it didn't get the spotlight internally that wasn't exciting to us. So we sort of sat on the same design for a long time. But recently, we're just going through all of our interfaces and constantly trying to improve them. And what you can see here with room booking is this wireframe identifies what the problem was with our old interface. So if we start with like auditing, if the interface exists already, we can start by either auditing what's not working or what's working, or throwing it away and starting from scratch. And in this case, we decided to look at what we already had and how we can improve it. And the main thing with the room booking interface is trying to display as much as you need and no more on a panel. And if you have too much information, you can't really see anything. It makes the design hard to use, and therefore you may as well not have it. So we took the approach of stripping it right back. So the process we go is we look at the interface, write some notes, get together and wireframe. And what I mean by that is literally hand draw. So draw ideas before it goes into prototyping or anything that is more time consuming. Because if you can solve it on a whiteboard or pen and paper, then it saves a lot more time if you go too far without doing that process. So we look at all of those interface elements, what we've come up with, and then we can look at the call to actions and the final result. So what we decided to do was strip it back and have a lot of the features not on the panel, but on behind a QR code. So when you scan the QR code, you're taken to a page that allows you to do more, allows you to see more, and allows you to do a lot more than is typically available on a room booking panel. So we call it basically a landing page for the room. So the call to action is the QR code. You have some high-level information, very easy to see from a distance. So our sort of internal design brief was, I need to see this from afar. It needs to work on a whole range of panels, not just expensive interactive ones, but also potentially ink displays, so not even color displays. So I needed a design language that was very simple, very consistent. And then when you launch that QR code onto the landing page, you can even call wait staff, you can control audio visual, and you can obviously book time in that room. So that approach, we sort of look at all of our interfaces, and a brand new feature would be something our customers are asking for, and this is where I can throw over to you, Sabrina, on some of the work we're doing and why we're doing it in terms of asset management.
Recently, it's more so been coming up in a lot of the proposals we're putting together and driven from our customers as a demand and a requirement that they have. So that's driven a lot of the internal product development to start building out this new feature. And when we talk about asset management, we're not talking about replacing an asset management solution, because there's a very important place for that product in the market. And those products are very, very detailed and extensive in what they do, from, depreciation to tagging to barcoding and all of the rest that goes into that.
And the accounting and everything like that. And I think that's an interesting point on anything we do at PlaceOS. Our product is the platform. So we always tread carefully when we're building products on top, because essentially we don't want to be seen as an asset management company. We don't want to be seen as a room booking company. Those are just examples of what the platform can do. And typically we do it because it's a common need across lots and lots of projects. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it directly. We might allow others to use our open source device drivers, our open source front end, and build their own products, which is really our preference in every regard, is to use PlaceOS as an operating system for your own products. But we're getting a little bit better at packaging and making things simple and having turnkey solutions, so you get the best of both worlds.
That's right. So, what a lot of our customers are saying is we've got an asset management solution, and then using the PlaceOS platform, we're able to detect all of the connected devices in a meeting room. So, anything with an IP address, we're already picking up and pulling into the platform, and we can then filter different rooms based on if you need certain conferencing equipment or certain projectors or screens. But the gap that was missing was being able to track assets like chairs, desks, anything that's not connected to the internet, but is still important to run a meeting and run an experience with customers and people coming into a workplace. So that was the gap. It was more so building out the functionality a little bit further so we can integrate with an existing asset management tool or have the capability to store basic asset information in PlaceOS if they don't have an existing asset management tool. But then we would draw the line with, as you mentioned, accounting and other things like that, where we would definitely suggest integration with a product that specializes in providing that functionality would be the best way to go.
Yeah, the main thing is we're trying not to have double handling. And sometimes this is using assets in a different way than the fully fledged asset management system. So if we have a look at some of the what we call high definition mockups we have here, you can see that one of the main functions of this is including it in our existing management interface. So this is the interface that we call it the Concierge Interface. It's used typically by facilitators of a workplace. So sometimes there's admin staff, sometimes there's event management staff. And they need to have some sort of level of access to asset management because they might be lending assets out, such as an iPad. Maybe it's a temporary thing, use this iPad in this meeting, or something, like an event where you need extra chairs. So that they now know where these items are physically located. They can manually assign them to locations. We can automatically track those devices if necessary. And we can have just a really simplified asset management that's in the workflow, and that's the important word, in the same workflow as what those types of users are already doing. So the concierge staff needed some level of asset management capabilities.
Yeah, and again, tailored to a specific stakeholder. So where an employee is interacting with assets, they want to be able to find a meeting room that has the assets that they're looking for or be able to book that particular asset. Whereas a concierge staff member just wants to be able to make sure that that asset is allocated to that room at that time, which is very different from a facilities manager who needs that extensive asset management platform to be able to say, what are these assets depreciating at? What do we need to replace? Thinking about maintenance and all of those other types of requirements. So it's not about, doubling up on anything. It's about presenting the information in the best way for the particular user that we're looking for.
So these are just two examples here where we looked at our existing interfaces and improved them, and then we created new functionality within some of our existing interfaces, adding functionality to Concierge. And we're also careful there not to make the Concierge interface just like too bloated. So it's also like thinking about workflow automation, things that you don't see, things that happen in the background, which assets certainly play a part in that. But one of the takeaways here is just like a framework on how to do this. I think I'd love to see our customers, when they're scoping ideas on top of PlaceOS, to get out their pen and paper and draw ideas, because it all comes back to what we're integrating with. If we have the right integration, we can achieve any desired user experience that that integration enables. So that is really up to anyone to come up with ideas, because we can't have all those ideas. There'll be something very specific, very unique to every organization. And if the best way to communicate it is to wireframe, eventually do high definition mock-ups where a graphic designer takes it to the next step. And then finally, you prototype. So you build a web interface that may not be connected to live data, but has all the user interactions. And the very final step is production, where it connects to things, to PlaceOS platform, to the integrations to feed the data to make things possible.
Yeah, and that can be done in two ways as well. It can either be done on a custom project for a specific customer, or it could be feedback that we collect for development of the core set of templated user interfaces and features that we support as part of PlaceOS. And there's lots of different ways we can capture that feedback. I mean, customers can go directly to our feature roadmap and they can put forward their suggestions, vote for different ideas that they like and they would see value from. They can speak directly to ourselves, and we capture that feedback from the market all the time. Or raising that in, as part of our NPS survey for any existing customers as well. So lots of different ways that we can capture that information and make sure we're continually developing the product in line with market requirements.